Welcome to Sandwich Seniority. I'm your host, Robbie Haig, and today I'm talking with Tom Keyes, who is running for state senate. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Thank you for having me, Robbie.
And I'd like you to talk a little bit about who Tom Keyes is.
Who is Tom Keyes? Well, you know, yes, I'm running for the state senate. I am running for the Plymouth and Barnstable district, which is currently occupied by the Senate President, Therese Murray. But who I am, well, for the last 14 years, I've been very involved in local and regional politics. I served for 6 years on the Board of Selectmen. I served then for 2 terms on the Assembly of Delegates, which is the county legislative body. But prior to that, I was 4 years on the Economic Development Committee. And I guess I can say I kicked everything off, I think it was in 1999, when the then Governor Jane Swift appointed me to the Rail Committee here on Cape. There was a problem going on and they needed to take some action, and I guess that's where it all started. And you know, it's been enlightening. I enjoy the work. Good. And I think it fits where my profession is. I also own my own practice, Keyes Quality Systems, where I go into a company and I look at all their operations and I restructure so that I eliminate the non-value added activity, streamlining. I've never called for a reduction in force. That's not what I do. What I do is I make it so that they can produce more with the same dollars. And when you do that, that's how the company makes more money. That's how raises become possible. And in this economy, that's very important.
And that's what we need.
So I guess you can say I'm a master of frugality. My wife says I'm cheap.
Happy to hear it.
But I like frugal.
Cheap is okay.
And you know, it's I guess if you look at my background professionally, which is operations and efficiencies, with my practice for the past 14 years, as well as I also do ethics and compliance work, where I'll go into an organization where maybe there was an infraction and I write a code of ethical conduct and I report to stakeholders, internal and external, whether it be courts or the board of directors, or if a company just wants to be a good corporate citizen. A CSR, which is a corporate social responsibility program, where you then announce to the world or more locally that we're a good company, we're here to help the community, we benefit from being in the community, and we want to give back, which is you have different programs where now you can use some of your goodwill and some of the profits to help the schools, help the local government, take care of some of the programs that are valued in the area. So there's different parts of what I do professionally that really aid the love of public policy, which I've been involved with for a while now. So that's me from that respect, but I'm also a dad, and that's most important.
That's wonderful.
I'm a father of 2 girls, and
you live here in Sandwich.
I do. I live here in Sandwich.
And you're selectman here in Sandwich.
I'm a former selectman. I was 2 terms.
Selectman.
I was chairman for a couple of years, vice chairman for a couple of years, but then there's every other board and committee. I was a cemetery commissioner, water quality review committee. You name it, I've been on it and been involved, and I enjoy the work.
Wonderful.
I don't recommend it to too many people, but I enjoy it.
As long as you enjoy it.
I do.
I'm going to ask you first off, how do you feel about this? They're trying to have come up with a new law about bake sales. How do you feel about that, speaking of children and schools?
You know, there's so much more important work that can be done here. Looking at let's be competitive for jobs, let's help businesses survive, let's reduce some of the regulations so that they can thrive, let's be competitive regionally. Massachusetts over the last 20 years has lost, what, 1/3 of its corporate offices and 250,000 jobs. Not because they went to China, they went to New Hampshire, to Rhode Island.
Amazing.
So we can't compete even regionally. We need to at least be competitive, so we should work on that. But when you get back to bake sales, that is an overstep. They want to, I think it's August 1st, they want to pass this law where it's banned that in the schools, where a school-related program cannot have bake sales because of calories. Well, type 2 diabetes is a problem, sure, but this isn't going to cure it. This will not teach children how to make wise choices with their food. All this does is this hurts, as you know, all of the extracurriculars. Look, I have kids in the schools. We all have families. That's how the schools survive.
Right.
That's how the band gets their uniforms, and we pay for the fuel to get to different areas, how we keep skating programs. All of those extracurriculars that the school budget can't fund, we do it through bake sales. We all do, all of our families. We participate, we cook something, we put it out, someone buys it. That's how we do it. This only hurts all the extracurriculars. It makes no sense, in my opinion, to ban bake sales because we have a type 2 diabetes problem. That's not the problem.
When I heard it, it actually was laughable.
It really was.
Whoever came up with it?
Well, it came out of the Patrick administration, right out of the governor's office. It makes no sense to me, and you know, this crosses all borders.
Right.
You know, whether you're a Democrat or Republican or an independent, or everyone is a family. And first and foremost, let's protect the families. And look, our kids need these extra dollars so that we can do the extracurriculars. This is a complete overreach.
So there are a few other things that are happening on the local scene. Could you talk to us about?
There's so much going on. You know, you look at what's in the papers as we speak. You know, you have the EBT card problem, which is electronic benefit transfer.
Thank you for that.
Where 20,000 cards, and again, this is for individuals that are income qualified. They get a debit card, and it allows them to buy certain goods. And you can only imagine, it's basically a replacement of the food stamps.
Right.
So now it's just an electronic benefit. 20,000 cards a month lost. Lost.
Amazing.
And just replaced. 20,000 a month.
That's a lot of cards.
There is a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse going on. They just had a crackdown up in Boston where they just rounded up a slew of individuals as well as businesses that were abusing this program. It's horrendous. And this has been going on for a long time. This just didn't happen. And if we know that 20,000 cards a month are lost and replaced a month, why is it now we're taking care of it? Because one of the local papers wrote about it?
Yeah.
Where were they? Where are the stopgaps? Why didn't someone say at 10,000 a month there's a problem, or 5,000 a month?
Right.
It's because
and these cards are in use, from what I can understand, so that people won't be embarrassed at using.
well,
what did they have?
well,
What were they using prior to the cards?
it was food stamps.
Food stamps.
Yes.
So is it such an embarrassment to use food stamps when you're hungry?
If you make it really easy for people to just get money electronically transferred into a debit card with no oversight, and people can just walk up and swipe, and there aren't a lot of restrictions on where this money can be swiped. As a matter of fact, there aren't many at all. We've seen it used for one gentleman, just recently in the paper, was calling a friend to say, use your EBT card to get me out of jail, using it for bail. And it was legal. It can be used. You can use it on cruise ships. You can use it on travel. You can use it at travel agents. It's amazing. This program is funded by all the taxpayers here in the United States, and it should be used for sustenance.
Right.
If someone is is having a hard time financially, they should be able to be income qualified to get this program so that we can keep, the basics, food, shelter, clothing, so that we can keep people going. It should not be used the way it's used. I mean, it's so abused. It's such a problem.
And there are so many of us who are giving to this program who are barely making it ourselves.
Absolutely. It hurts everyone.
Right.
And look, we are a very generous nation. We've shown this throughout the history of the United States. We're a very generous state. But we don't want dependence.
Right.
We want to help people help themselves, show them a way where they can move forward. Help them. I'm a very generous person.
It's the old bootstrap thing.
Thank you. Absolutely. People hard on their luck. There are so many ways in Massachusetts that, we can help you survive until you find your way out, and help you find your way out of this situation.
Teaching them to fish,
Absolutely.
There are all a lot of old cliches, but we have a problem.
Old cliches are brilliant, in my opinion.
I think you're right. So there's a probation scandal that we've been hearing about.
Yeah, that broke in 2010. There was an independent counsel that was called the Ware Report, where it was demonstrated that people were getting jobs in the probation department. They were calling it a pay-to-play program, where individuals were receiving benefit to get a job in the probation department based on who they knew.
Wow.
And lists were being captured in by some of the secretaries in the probation department of when someone recommends someone for the job, they can move ahead of others because of who they know. And
That's unfair.
It's extremely unfair. You know, this is, in a government structure, everything needs to be equal. You know, everything is funded through taxpayer dollars. We need complete transparency. No one should be able to get a benefit job. Well, think about the probation department. We have individuals that are overseeing people that have had hard times. Some people are criminals. And now who's overseeing them? Is it the best, most qualified individuals? How's the performance of the probation department? Well, no one really knows. Maybe it could be much better if we had the most qualified in there. My opponent was named 6 times in the indictments that came down this year.
Really?
She was not indicted, but there were a few elected officials, high-ranking elected officials, that were shown to be a part of this pay-to-play program. And as an ethics and compliance officer, that just cannot stand. Absolutely. We need sunshine.
Yes.
You know, like they say, it's your best disinfectant. We need to shine a light on all of our programs, what's going on. None of this backroom deals. It's inexcusable.
There's also talk about secure communities. Can you talk about that?
Just last night I got an update. Secure Communities is coming to Massachusetts on May 15th. Our sheriffs in the area have been fighting with the administration, saying that they want secure communities here in Massachusetts. It's been blocked by the governor, and this is a federal program as it comes down from the Obama administration. And it's mandated that all 50 states must participate. Our governor has been blocking it. And now they're saying, even at the objection of our own governor, it's going to be instituted statewide here in Massachusetts. What this allows for is when someone is picked up for an infraction, a crime, or whatever the case would be, that their fingerprints are automatically sent to Immigration Service so that they can be matched against the national database to see if someone is here legally, whether they've been deported and are now back, have they been brought in under a different infraction, and are they using different aliases? Remember, if you're here illegally, who knows what your name is? And every time you're picked up, you can give a different name. Your fingerprint is your fingerprint. And this is an automatic program. And this is going to help us to find out who's here. Illegal immigration is an enormous problem. The last study I saw showed that we had an estimate of 220,000 illegals here in Massachusetts.
Wow. And the word illegal says it all.
Thank you. And you know, it's not about immigration.
Right.
Everyone here, unless you're a Native American, is a product of immigration.
Yes.
We need a legal system. And if the legal system is too burdensome, let's work to change it. Let's make it what the United States should be. But illegal, whether it's illegal immigration or an illegal amusement park, doesn't matter. It's not about what it is. It's about being illegal. We're a nation of laws. This is a republic. And if we ignore certain laws, who has the right to ignore this law as opposed to that one? And if we don't like the laws, change them. Until we do, we have to enforce them.
And we can't change the laws for one group and not for the other.
Correct. Correct. We're all equal.
Absolutely. Another question that I would like to have you talk about is how you feel about the right to death with dignity.
You know,
it's heavy.
That's a very sensitive topic. Every family is going to have to deal with this at some point. Everyone's going to deal with this. We all have an expiration date. We don't know when it is, but it's all coming. And death with dignity, I do not want the government involved in that decision. It's a family decision. I've dealt with it with my grandparents and my parents, and the family has to come together and make certain calls based on what they can best make the call on with their doctors, with their nurses. No one should be involved in this outside the family. This is a very difficult and trying time for the family. And the last thing I would want is the government to be involved with whether my grandmother, my father, or God forbid, you know, one of my children has a horrible situation. No one should be involved outside of the family.
Agreed.
It's not the government's place. And everyone has different beliefs, religious beliefs.
Right.
And everyone has to come to grips with the decisions of the families.
It's
That's
not,
where it should
it's
stay.
not a one size fits all.
By no means.
No.
No means. Everyone has a different level of faith, and everyone has to meet their moral background as well as the individual that's being discussed.
Right.
We know what certain people's wishes are, and that has to be discussed in the family. Get the government out. And the last thing I'd like to see is a government mandate where doctors have to ask that question.
Right.
That's between your doctor and the patient in that family.
And they should ask the question,
Cool.
but not to have to.
Not to have to.
Right.
Get the government out of it, period.
Yeah.
That's my call on that.
Well, I believe that. So tell me your platform on taxes.
Taxes. Well, I said earlier
Terrible taxes.
that I like to think I'm the master of frugality.
Good.
We already tax enough. It's about using those taxes wisely. And until we see efficiency and the wise use of our dollars, why would we want to tax more?
Right.
Do you know of any government program that you could sit back and go, boy, that's an efficiently run game right over there?
No.
It'd be rare, if any. We need to make sure that government is run appropriately. Look at the EBT card problem.
Right.
Millions and millions of dollars
Amazing.
are being wasted annually. Millions. Could be hundreds of millions. Look at the illegal immigration problem. Millions, again, wasted on people fraudulently taking Social Security numbers, making them up, and getting benefits.
Amazing.
We have people here illegally consuming benefits, tax dollars, if we want to use it.
Right.
Until we clean that up, why would we want to tax ourselves more? We don't need to.
Yeah.
But think about all that money. You know, as a selectman for 6 years, I was fighting for a fair and equitable distribution of what's called local aid dollars to schools. And my hometown of Sandwich was at a serious disadvantage. Some towns were getting over 80% of their entire budget funded through the state. Other towns, like Falmouth, was like around 14% of their budget.
Wow.
Is that fair? No, it's
No,
not.
not at all.
A child over in Falmouth is not less worthy than a child in one of those areas that are getting huge amounts of funding.
Right.
So it's about equity, making sure that the distribution is done appropriately. And I understand there are biases and there are equations and there are some economically repressed areas, but it just has to be done in an appropriate manner and not harm all for the sake of the gain of one.
Right.
We just need equity. So taxes, I'm not big on taxes, not at all. As a matter of fact, it was 2005. I was on the Board of Selectmen, and the town was in a real tough situation. We didn't know what the state aid number was going to be. The town was upside down financially. Our schools were bursting through the roof. We had close to 4,000 students, and we needed an override.
Wow.
And so we did. We had to go for an override, and it passed, and it was difficult. And all of a sudden, we get the state number because we had to pass our budget before the state tells us how much we're going to get back in state aid.
Sure.
And here we're sitting on an additional $500,000. So what did? We wrote a Prop 2.5 underride. That was 2005, and it passed. Passed by huge numbers, and we gave that money back. And that doesn't happen. It's the 10th time in Massachusetts history that
Right.
happened.
Right.
And I'm very proud of that.
Good.
That was 2005. Here we are, 2012. The town still hasn't requested an override. We didn't need to because we put together a long-range financial plan. We streamlined our operations, and we still are not going for an override.
Well, let me clarify something.
Sure.
You said you're not big on taxes.
No,
I
I'm not.
don't agree with you. I think you are big on taxes, but you're big on using them appropriately.
You know, that's a great point.
Big difference.
I'm big on appropriate services. I believe in government services. We need to have them. We need to collectively come together and put roads together. We can't do it on our own.
Right.
We need to collectively come together and build a school and do all kinds of other things that, as a collective, we can't do as individuals.
Right.
That's right. That's what we need to do. But boy, I'm not going to call for any increases in taxes because we waste an incredible amount of money.
And we hear it on a daily basis. That,
no one's fooling themselves. No.
Well, I want you to talk more about the upcoming voting for Tom Keyes.
Well, first, if people want to contribute, want to help, our campaign website is votekeyes.com, K-E-Y-E-S, votekeyes.com. There's a million ways to help. In 2010, we ran for this seat, and we were the closest in the Senate. We received 48% of the vote. 2 points.
That's amazing.
2 points we need to swing.
So you're going for 2 points. You're going for more than 2 points.
Well, I'd like to get more. I don't want to be piggish, but certainly I'd like to get more than 2 points. But we need to swing 2 points. And my opponent spent over $500,000. And I spent $50,000. 10 to 1. And I still had 48%, which means we have the right message.
Yes.
I have the right background that I can be effective going up to Beacon Hill. I'll be the only efficiency consultant and ethics and compliance officer up there. So I might be eating lunch alone on some days. But I think I can do a good job. There's a better way of governing. There's a much better way of governing. But again, we need to look past lunch. We need to look long range on every decision we make. And that doesn't always happen. But come on November 6th, people can help. First come out and vote. But prior to that, we have a lot of events going on. We have standouts. People can put a sign in their yard. If you go to our website, votekeyes.com, you can get a bumper sticker. You can get one of these fancy bracelets for contributing.
Very nice.
Says, what does it say here? She's united to fix Beacon Hill.
Sounds good.
We have these all over. There's a million ways to help in networking.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Oh, please.
Because we're getting towards the end of our half hour, and I want you to talk about this, the closed door wheeling and dealing going on.
Boy.
I think that's very important to bring out.
People need to realize that the legislature has exempted themselves from the open meeting law.
And that's not legal.
That's legal. They can do that.
It is legal?
They, you know, I guess it's good to be king, isn't it?
Wow.
Every board and committee in the Commonwealth, whether it's selectmen, whether it be cemetery commissioners, all the boards and committees of elected and appointed officials have to do their work in front of the public. Doesn't mean public has to participate with the discussions, but everything has to be done in front of the public because they're doing the public's work.
And they're using the public's money.
Absolutely. The legislature has exempted themselves. They do most of their dealings in behind closed doors, literally. There's many, many anecdotes that'll show you how this, evidence, facts, where, you know, you see on television, you see the movies where everyone's under the big rotunda and pounding on the desk and saying, that's not the way we should do it. That doesn't happen. It's extremely rare.
Wow.
Everything is done in back rooms, and they've also exempted themselves from the Freedom of Information Act on their internal documents. We can't even petition to get the documents to find out why they built or bundled these laws together. That needs to change immediately. As an ethics and compliance officer, transparency is first and foremost. Everything needs to be out there because they're doing our work. They're not doing their own work.
That's right.
So that
Thank you for
that's
that.
going to be one of my first things I'm going to want to try to do up there is change that internal policy.
Wonderful. Well, the half hour does go by fast, as you know. It's been wonderful having you here.
It's been great to be here.
I appreciate you giving me your time. And thank you all for being here. And on Sandwich Seniority, this is Robbie Haig saying we hope to see you again real soon.